This is blueberry acai lemonade. All right, well, enough of that because you guys know I hate ASMR, but hello, welcome back to the Bougie Black Girls YouTube channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Dana, and we have a little adult beverage going today because we are going to be talking about money. And I am surprising myself by doing another financial video on this channel. I'm always kind of taken aback at how well they do, just because I've told you guys before, and I will tell you again, I am not a financial guru of any kind. I would not pretend to be on the internet or anywhere else. I would not swindle people that way. I am just a regular, schmegular girl. And I, am trying to figure out this money situation, I think like everybody else is. But if it's helpful to have these chats person to person, girl to girl, I'm happy to continue to make them, especially as we're coming up on the end of 2025, stepping into 2026 very soon. I know that's a scary thought for a lot of us, but I have been thinking a lot about budgeting, and that's what I want to talk about today. So at the top of this year, getting my arms around my budget was definitely like a primary goal of mine. It was very important to me. And I think I've made some good strides in that direction as I've gone throughout 2025, but budgets are something that I understand and develop and have, in theory, but in practice, I do have some challenge sort of implementing and executing them. But this year has definitely been the outlier. So I wanted to share with you guys the approach that I've been taking to budgeting that has been working for me, share some tips and tricks on how I sort of develop my budget tracking sheet, and then also just some things that I'm keeping in mind as we move into the last few months of 2025 and are hopefully getting ourselves in a good situation to step into 2026 with some release and not more stress. So if that sounds good for you, definitely give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get started. So again, I lead with the fact that I am not a financial expert. I am just happy to share what I know and what my process is. And the first step in the process for me has always been to acknowledge the fact that money is a very emotional thing. And I think oftentimes we don't really treat it that way. Oftentimes, if you're reading finance books or listening to podcasts or, reading articles online, the way we talk about money in this country and honestly probably all across the world, it's a very cut and dry, emotionless exchange sort of thing. But because money literally dictates the quality of life that we live, where we can and can't live, what we can and can't do, when we are looking at our finances and we see that we have money to do things or we don't have money to do things, it sparks big feelings. And so if you are feeling that, if you're feeling overwhelmed by your finances, if you are avoiding the big feelings and therefore avoiding creating budgets, just kind of know that you're not alone in that. I think that is something that I struggle with a lot. Definitely in the past, I avoided checking my bank accounts, checking my credit score, just because, dealing with the reality of that can sometimes stir up some big emotions. Avoidance is typically not a good thing. So I would encourage you to sort of push past those feelings. If you're watching this video, that seems like an okay first step. But give yourself some grace if you are, struggling with that a bit in this season. I think I do also overwhelmingly sort of operate in an abundance mindset when it comes to finances. And I do think for the most part that has served me really, really well. So that's not something that I am letting go, but this year I really wanted to, and I'm still trying to bring in some of the reality and the groundedness in planning for finances with sort of the thoughts and the feelings that God, the universe, whoever you believe in is going to provide those resources for you. I think those things can kind of coexist. So yeah, with all of that in mind, I sort of did a big reevaluation of the budgeting tools and budgeting approach that I was taking. And to be completely transparent, I felt like I was all over the place. And I landed on the zero-based budgeting method in early January. And that has served me, I think, really well throughout the year. I did fall off the wagon a little bit this summer, which is why I am realigning and decided to share this method with you guys, because when I can lean in and stick to it, it does do wonders for my financial health. And zero-based budgeting, while it sounds, like it could possibly be complicated, is really very simple. You are simply just creating a plan for every single cent that you earn, and you're also making a plan for how it goes out and where. Now, of course, we're human. We're not going to be always able to stick to everything to the letter and to the T, but sort of having that plan, so we do not plan to fail, can make us do much, much better with our finances than, flying by the seat of our pants. As far as resources go, you guys know that I like cheap and that I like free. So I utilized a Google Sheets template that I just doctored up a little bit in order to come up with sort of a template and a plan that works for my finances. And we'll shift over to the computer. We'll do a little bit of a split screen thing here so you guys can see what it would look like to develop that sort of template for yourselves. All right, so moving over to our computer, grabbing an age-appropriate beverage, we're moving over to Google Sheets, and this is the template that I used. Now, like I mentioned before, you guys can certainly customize this, adjust this to how you want it. I made some minor tweaks, but overwhelmingly, it's pretty much exactly the same as it came. So when looking at the top of the sheet, there's a section here where you can sort of account for the amount of money that you have starting in like your savings account. And for the sake of this example, I think we're gonna keep it at a lower amount. I know some people may be starting with a good amount in their savings. Some people may be starting with absolutely nothing in their savings. Either way, I think this method will work for you, but let's start with something, a little bit more digestible, like let's say like $500. So we're gonna move down here to the expenses portion of the sheet. And the first thing that I like to do is type in all of my expenses. And so I'm gonna use some random numbers here. Like I said, these may be applicable to you or not, depending on where you live and how much you make. But we're gonna start typing in those expenses like our rent, our utilities, and I'm just making up some numbers that feel, somewhat accurate to like a middle point of where a lot of folks will be. This also depends on whether you live with someone or not. But I'm starting off here with some of those more fixed bills that tend to have a pretty steady or the same payment each month. And so once I get all of those listed, then I'm gonna get into some things that are technically a bit more flexible, but I wanna start a steady cadence with. So here, I have things like savings. Groceries in general, I think is something that you probably wanna be spending the same amount on. And then moving on a little bit, beauty and personal maintenance. I know for a lot of people that is not technically an expense, but at least for the life that I live, it absolutely is. As a Black woman in, professional spaces, looking a certain way is tied to how I'm perceived in the world, and that needs to be at a certain standard. So even if it's not a ton, like this is not even enough to probably get my hair done at a salon consistently. This number does fluctuate, but I like to allocate something every month to taking care of myself. Then of course, we're gonna input our leisure spending. It's good to have a little bit of money here. Now this does include me like getting carry out, going out to dinner with friends, coffee a couple times a week throughout the month. So that number may be high or low to you depending on how much you do that. But this number is typically a good, midpoint for me. Then we're gonna type in some info on our subscription services. So like our streaming. So like say like Netflix, Hulu, and I don't know, Peacock, Crunchyroll, whatever, that's like $50. And of course you'll wanna put the exact numbers that you are spending in your life. We can also look at our music subscription services. And so that is about $15 a month. And then of course, anything else that is not accounted for here, you're definitely gonna wanna add to the list. So something I know I forgot here was cable/internet. That is super important. So all of that information is there on my expenses. Here we have like a plan total of what I can expect to spend in a month to sort of live off of this budget. And we'll adjust this as we need to, but we're gonna move over to the income side of things now. And we're gonna look at our definitive plan for how much money should be coming into the home for the month. So you can do this based on how your pay schedule is set. I think a lot of people are on that bi-weekly, 2 times a month schedule. So we're just gonna do, a rough estimate of, let's say like $1,600 a paycheck. That can seem a little high or low depending on what you do and where you live, but stick with me here. If there's anything remaining from the previous month, you can put that there. But again, because this is a zero-based method, to me, with this approach, every month is sort of like a blank slate. And so as we can see after inputting that, the planned income that I have here is not going to be enough to cover the expenses I have listed here. And there's a few different approaches you can take to handle that. Now, I've mentioned it once or twice on the channel before, but I have a part-time job as a group fitness instructor. It's something I really enjoy doing. And also it's nice that it brings in a little bit of income. So already there, that is going to be enough to cover our deficit. And that gives us about $100 cushion, give or take. Now for me, as somebody who tends to get a little swipe happy in TJ Maxx or Ross, that's not enough of a cushion to make me feel comfortable. Like, you know, I'm gonna be all right if something does not go exactly to plan. So another option that we have is to go back to our expense list and make some adjustments. And so if we know things are going to be a little bit more tight this month, where can we make some little adjustments? So here I see that maybe I could probably shave a couple dollars off of my grocery bill. I may be able to cut down on my beauty maintenance, or I can, you know, make it a point to maybe only go out once or twice this month as opposed to 2-3 times. And so that leisure spending budget cuts down. And I will say that this is a great time of year to think about picking up a part-time job if you need one, even if it's not for like an extensive period of time. I think that this is definitely the season to do so. We are about to step into Halloween season where all those little spirit Halloween type shops are popping up, and you can work there for, you know, the Halloween season. And then right after that, we have Thanksgiving and Christmas with the holiday shopping season. A lot of places are going to be picking up seasonal work. And an optional little addition here, I put a little to-do list in each of my monthly breakdowns of my budget of things that I need to take care of. So like we mentioned, those Amazon returns need to get made for me this month, but you may also have to do something like cancel a gym membership. Something that I really want to get my arms around before the end of the year is like a clear debt and savings tracker. Maybe set some more firm goals on when I want certain debt to go away versus when I want certain saving goals to be hit. And so creating a tracker for that, I think will help me sort of get on the pace that I'm looking for. And then also maybe making a note to do something you haven't done in a while, just to check on your financial health, like checking your credit score, checking your statements, you know, something that's gonna set you on the right path. And if you need a little friend to do it, an age appropriate friend, depending on how old you are watching this, that is totally fine. Get through the process as you need to. And from there, you just duplicate this, make some adjustments to the expenses and the income based on what you're planning for that upcoming month. So maybe making notes about paying for holiday flights, paying for hotel, maybe if you're planning to have a little bit of a bonus or something, just make sure that's all accounted for. I like to plan for at least 3 months in advance, but at this point in the year, I did do my budget all the way through December. So that's what worked for me. And hopefully this template or a version of it will work for you guys as well. And last but certainly not least, you guys, be kind to yourself when it comes to this money stuff. Like, I know for me, I didn't really grow up in a situation where there was a lot of conversation about personal finances and how to appropriately manage money. I got all the way through my master's program and can count on like maybe one hand the amount of conversations I had about like good financial stewardship in my personal life. So if that is you, please just give yourself a little bit of grace. I know there's like a particular genre of content that is very popular right now of like the harsh, tough love money critique. And it has a space and, you know, has value for some people. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum necessarily, but while we can acknowledge the wrongdoing that we have done in our financial past, at least my personal philosophy and outlook on it is like the money is gone. So I can beat myself up about it till the cows come home, but the money has been spent. So I just kind of like to focus on the future and doing better in the future. Acknowledging the bad behavior, yes, but also just like, how do I move forward? How do I not do this again? And crying myself to sleep over it every night is not going to solve the problem. So I'm not finna bully myself. I would recommend that you all don't either. So that is all I have for you guys today. As always, I hope this video was helpful. I know I have been thinking about the holiday season coming up and just like gifts and travel and all the things. I just kind of want to make sure that my money health is looking better. So I hope that this helped you get the gears turning on those things. If you have any tips, tricks to share with the collective about good financial stewardship, definitely drop it down below. I think it's nice if we can all chat with each other and encourage each other about these difficult topics. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. It really helps us out in these early days. Please give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.